little problem with it, but all right, here we go. We already prayed and done everything, and then now we'll start up on this Bible study for what our Father has for us. All right, here we go. Everybody, open up to Romans chapter 7, verse 14. I'm gonna read this out the King. Let's see. No, out the NIV. Well, the King James and the NIV. But this part says the exact same thing. But we're starting on our. Once again, we welcome everybody here, and joining together with us online. I apologize for the interruption from the broadcast interruption that happened. But here, excuse me. We're gonna start at. We're gonna start on the what's that threefold the threefold nature of man. This is like before we get deep into it, we're gonna go over some things before we get to the body, soul. What's that? The body, soul, and the spirit part of it. So here, open up to Romans chapter 7, verse 14. Like I said, I'm gonna read this out the NIV. And here it says, "This is we know that the law is spiritual, but I am unspiritual, sold as a slave to sin." And here in the King James it says, "We know that the law is spiritual, but I am carnal, sold under sin." Being carnal, unspiritual means the same. This meaning the same thing. But here, what Paul is going over, and everyone, this is where we're going to get into that struggle between the two natures, as it here it says a Christian struggle in my Bible, and I know in some other Bibles it says the struggle, what is that, the struggle of two natures. But everyone should read it, and I don't know if the Lord's going to have us doing it. But from it, chapter 7, verse 7 to verse 13, and well, we might read over that a little later on. But here, this saying that we know the law is spiritual. This law, the law that it's talking about, and where this struggle starts off is, well, here before we get on to that, the being spiritual, the law being spiritual, we know who God gave the law to Moses. God gave the law to give to the people, and we'll probably go over a little more where Christ fulfilled. How does it say? He fulfilled the law. But what we want to look at here is that when this law is written, that laws are written by many people in the world. That the government makes laws, companies make bylaws, even some churches make bylaws. But you look at the source of it. How is it, Father? Of the source of where the law is coming from. That most laws are made by man. Man is inherently corrupt by nature, as starting from Adam and Eve, when they ate that forbidden fruit. That here in Deuteronomy, flip back to Deuteronomy, chapter 16, verse, what is that? Verse 19. Need a bookmark. There we go. Thank you, Lord. Turn right to it. In chapter 16, verse 19, out the King James, and I'll read this out of both of them. Here, I'll read out the King James. Well, go ahead. You read it. You read it first.
16.
Chapter 16, verse 19.
Do not pervert justice. Do not pervert justice or show partiality. Do not accept a bribe, for a bribe blinds the eyes of the wise and twists the words of the innocent.
Right. Do not do, do not do not pervert justice or show brutality. Do not accept a bribe, for a bribe blinds the eyes of the wise and twists the words of the innocent. And out the King James it says, "Thou shalt not wrest judgment. Thou shalt not thou shalt not respect persons, neither take a gift, for a gift doeth blind the eyes of the wise and pervert the words of the righteous." This now that what this is saying is that anyone that is the judges back here and the officers back here in the Old Testament were not to they were to be not have any favor for anyone, because excuse me, that all of this, whenever there's gifts or money involved, it causes somebody to turn to a certain direction, give favor to one person or another. That's what this is talking about. And when laws come from man, that it's man inherent, like the Lord told, inherently corrupt, because when this comes about, the laws will be corrupt. The laws will be skewed. The laws will be twisted. And this is why he told the judges and the officers back here in Deuteronomy that not to accept anything that will cause you to close your eyes to certain things, will cause you to turn away from certain things. And here what we can trust in the Lord is that when the Lord back at things back at Rome is when the Lord where's it at? Where am I at? Oh, I was on verse 19. This law, the laws that God has made, is spiritual. Because as it says, like it says in John, where is that? In John 4:24, God is a spirit, and those that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. Because God, there's nothing inherently corrupt with God. God being that spirit, God being not knowing any, not having any wickedness in him, not having any struggle within himself, like with all of us, with the flesh and the spirit. That God, when God made these laws, he made these laws to for our good. He made these laws to show us to show us today. Well, in the old, we'll speak in the Old Testament. He showed them the laws there to show them how much they needed him, how much just like where is it at? Where is it at, Father? There in verse up in Romans chapter 7 verse 9. It says, and this is out the NIV. It says, once I was alive apart from the law. And we'll stop right there. That this when that the law this what God is showing us through the Old Testament, as you study the Old Testament, as you read the New Testament, is how much how much we need him. That the law, the law that God has given us is a lot is a lot deeper than just the words that are written on well, back then it was the stone that he gave to Moses to give to the children of Israel. God is spiritual, and it, people can look at that and see it, and just how it went in the Old Testament whenever they did works to cover the sins that they have committed, and cover their iniquities. That today people think the same way of it being just through works, of being a good person. that how they would where's that, how's that, Father, how of doing good deeds, and looking at the law that way, and they seeing that, oh, I didn't kill anybody, or I didn't I didn't I didn't steal anything, or I didn't desire any my neighbor's wife, or my neighbor's dog houses, or my neighbor's in the what is that, the Ten Commandments, maid servants or man servants, not they, looking at that in a physical sense, and saying and seeing saying that I haven't done any of these things, so I'm a good person right there. I'm going to heaven right there. But the law is a lot deeper than that. And if we turn to if you turn to Matthew, how Christ took it a little deeper. Oops, I'm in the Old Testament. How Christ showed everyone that it's not just the words of it, that you look at. It's not just the works of it, but it's walking in the spiritual sense. I haven't found that yet. There we go, chapter 5. Chapter 5. Oh, did I say the verse? Oh, it's chapter 5. I didn't even say the chapter, did I? Whoops. Chapter 5, we're going, it's verse 21 and 22 and 27 and 28. And I'll read this out the NIV. All right, here, chapter 5, verse 21 and 22, it says, you have heard that it was said to the people long ago, you shall not murder, and anyone who murders will be subject to judgment. But I tell you that anyone who is angry with a brother or sister will be subject to judgment. Excuse me. Again, anyone who says to a brother or sister, Raka, is answerable to the court. And anyone who says, thou fool, will will be in danger of the fire of hell. And what is that, 27 and 28? He says, you have heard that it is said, you shall not commit adultery. But I tell you that anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with his heart. Now, these two commandments of murder and committing adultery is most majority of people look at it and just the same way as it was in the Old Testament, looking at it in a physical sense. But Christ is taking here. It's more than just that. He's taking it. It's in your heart. Yes.
What's raka mean?
Fool. In other words, it means fool. It's within, everything is within your heart. That if you have that anger with your brother, or with your brother and sister, as it says here in the NIV, or if you lust after a woman with your heart, you've already done this. It's more than just that physical sense. It's more than just that, just the works of it. Just like with walking with God, it's more than just the works. That's why in the Old Testament that all of the sacrifice offerings, all the sacrifice, all the offerings, everything that they've done was only temporary. It wasn't a permanent covering. That when Christ came, when Christ fulfilled everything in the Bible, when Christ did everything in the Bible that was to be done, that God had called him to do, then that was that permanent covering, because Christ, he went, he didn't, like he said, he wasn't here to destroy the law, but to fulfill the law. And I didn't write that down where that was, but I know we went over it dozens of times last series and in church. But he fulfilled it. It was in that spiritual sense that he was talking about. Let her go. That all of that was being done in God in God's will. And this law, when it says the law is spiritual, it's to show you that how much you need God in your life. That physically, just we'll get to it where it says at the end, but I am unspiritual, sold under sin. That we're inherently corrupt. We're inherently just bad nature. That nobody is running after God wholeheartedly. Well, nobody will run after God wholeheartedly on their own. Nobody walks out the room, gets old enough, and says on their own, I want to walk after the Lord. God calls you for it. God softens your heart. God brings that little bit of light in your heart and shows you these things. That's why here at the second half of this, second half of Romans chapter 7 verse 9, it said, but when the commandment came, oh wait, where is it at? Yeah, when the commandment came, sin sprang to life, and I died. Now here, here we'll just go over that part. That's at chapter 7 verse 9. If I didn't say it. That when all of this, when God shed that light on in his life, when it's like walking in a dark room. You walk in a dark room that's dusty and filthy, but you don't see it. You don't know that it's dirty. You don't know that that it needs cleaned. You don't know how filthy it is, because you're looking at it through darkness. This is just like with Paul when he said, once I was alive apart from the law. That when he didn't know that he was doing wrong, he didn't know. Just like who's that? Jonah and the Ninevites. The Ninevites did not know that they were doing wrong. And God even told Jonah this. Let me see if I can jump to it real quick. I believe it's the chapter 4. Oh, Jonah. The chapter. Where it says they don't know their right from their left. Where is it at, Father? There it is. Oh, it's at the end. In verse 11. It says, and shall not, and this is out the King James, shall not I spare Nineveh, that great city, wherein are no more than 60,000 persons, that cannot discern between their right and their left hand, and also much cattle. They didn't know. Just like with Paul, when he was out, and this is the the beauty of the law. Paul didn't know. He said, once I was alive, that his room, everybody's room is dark. Before salvation, everybody's room is dark. Everybody's room is filthy. Everybody's room needs clean, but nobody knows it because the room is dark. Now, when God sheds that little bit of light on it, and you receive that light in, once you look at that room, you see all the dust kicked up. You see all the dirt just floating around in the air. You see on all of the furniture how dirty, how when that light hits hits a piece of furniture, you see how dirty it truly is. And then you see it, and then you say, "Oh, I have to. This place is filthy. I have to clean it up somehow." And then that's whenever you do that, and you bring it, and you let God you let God into your heart, fully into your heart. Excuse me. When you let God fully into your heart, then you see the fullness of the filthiness that how filthy your house truly is. That's why here in verse 9 he's saying, but when the commandment came, and here does it read a lot different in the King James? Oh no, it doesn't read different. But when it says, but when the commandment came, sin sprang to life, and I died. In the New King James it says, but when the commandment came, sin revived, and I died. That there God showed the light, and this is with all of us. God shows that life in our life. God, and He reveals everything that we've thought we were doing right, we were doing wrong. Nineveh, they probably believed that they were doing right. They didn't have anything else to show them otherwise that they were doing wrong, until God sent Jonah to them to let them know that they were doing wrong. And this is the same way with Paul. What Paul is saying here, that he thought he was he was a good person. He was believing that there was nothing he was doing that was wrong. But when God shined that light on him, he saw it. And to make this even more remarkable, that Paul was raised up. What was that? Gamaliel. At the feet of Gamaliel. I can't remember where it says it in Acts. He was taught by Gamaliel. He was shown. He knew the law of God in and out. But he knew it in and out, but he did not understand it. And here, the Lord had me write it down. It says, the Lord had told me, He said, you can have or know the law down to the letter and not have a spiritual meaning of it. And that's so many out in this world that with Paul. It was like that. He knew the law. He knew the law down to the letter, but he didn't know the spiritual side of it. In the the Pharisees? Yeah, the Pharisees, they knew it down to the letter, but they didn't know the spiritual side of it. This is what Christ has done. Whenever we read over about the murder and about the adultery in Matthew, this is what Christ it has shown. It's more than just the words that you read. It's more than just the sentences that you take in. It's all in the heart. That's why this is when we started out. When we started out in verse 14, it's saying we know that the law is spiritual. You know that the law is spiritual because of that. Because God is a spirit, and those that worship God must worship Him in spirit and in truth. Those that will come after God cannot come after God in a physical sense. That in this world today, there's a lot of idol religions. There's a lot of idol worshiping. There's a whole lot of idols out there in this world. But there's only one idol not idol. God is the only God that you have to worship Him in spirit and in truth. You can't come physically to God and have an understanding and have that understanding and have a true understanding of Him.
Is that what that means? In spirit and in truth, from your heart, genuinely.
Yeah, just like with it's just like with prayer. Prayer cannot prayer cannot just be said with the mouth and be effective. If you pray with your mouth and you don't feel it in your heart, there's there's nothing to it. You it's like going to trying to put out a fire uh, with nothing. Seeing a fire and you just looking at it and hoping it goes out. There's nothing that's going to happen. When you pray, when you pray, that prayer has to come from the heart. The prayer has to be a fervent prayer or a fiery prayer. Uh, just like when who was that? Well, just like when Peter was walking out on the ocean to meet with Jesus, he started sinking, and he said, what did he say? Save me. Yeah, Lord, save me. That was what you call a fervent prayer, a prayer of desperation, a prayer of I don't want to drown. I know, look at the storm around me, I'm sinking in it. That's a fervent prayer. That's a prayer coming from his that how the Lord was saying it on Sunday, that volcano inside of us, and we're going to get into that with the Holy Spirit, that volcano, and when he was saying with Zoe, that volcano that he that is that's inside of her, that is being stifled by the flesh. Once she realizes, and this is for everyone, once they truly realize who God is, and how he protects you, how he does everything for you. Once that volcano erupts, uh, there's not going to be any stopping her spiritual walk. There's not going to be any stopping her boldness as she walks on, praying for people, healing them, raising the dead. Uh, uh, the blind being able to see, that once she lets that uh, once she lets God take that flesh away, take that the hindrance, I'll say the hindrance of the flesh away, there's going to be no stopping her. And that, and like the Lord said, and that's for all of us as well. And that's no it's not a knock on her, because everybody has that that what holds them back, the flesh. And this is that battle that we're going to get into, that you 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 see with the eyes of flesh all the time. And Satan tries to overwhelm you with the visualizations around you, what you see around you, what you hear and what you feel, and tries to knock you down that way, and tries to get you to look away from God. He does that with everyone. And and this and once we realize and give ourselves fully to God, and know that, then there wouldn't be any, there's not going to be any stop. There's not going to be stopping anyone, because the God's Holy Spirit is going to just come through us, and we're going to be we're going to be able to walk along, just like who was that, Peter, with his shadow, that people, his shadow just coming up against people and healing them. And with Paul, that he praying over with the handkerchiefs, and laying the handkerchiefs on the sick and them being healed. That's that totally dying to flesh. And this is that what how it says the law is spiritual. That's that spiritual part of it. That's that's how is it, Father? That's the fullness of it. It's more than just the letters. It's more than just the walking along with it. It's all of that. That that once he saw that, turn, no, don't turn, it's in the same chapter, that at the end of this, Paul says, and in my Bible it has an exclamation point. It says, "Oh wretched man that I am." Oh, it's in verse 24, chapter 7, verse 24. He says, "Oh wretched man that I am," realizing that he's carnal, realizing that he's inherently corrupt. that realizing that there's nothing that can help him but Christ, Christ in his life, and and God giving him the strength to. That once his eyes were open, once he saw what that he was not, he was not uh, as good as he thought he was. Once people realize that that they are not, that they're no good because of the how is it, because of the corruption of the flesh. How it says at the end of this, and we'll get to it. Well, we'll just do it now and there. That it says it at the second half of verse 14 says, "But I am unspiritual, sold as a slave to sin." And that's this is the best thing that I've seen. That it says sold as a slave to sin. What does it say? Oh, sold under sin. But this is where's that at, Father? This is what he realized, that he was that one, that he was I lost my train of thought. He realized that he was to uh, with himself, by himself, apart from God, nothing. He was a slave. He was forced laborer to sin, and that's all and that's all everybody that is in this world is, that they're a slave to sin. That there's nothing that they can do to save themselves from the sin that they are they're in. That here in how it says in Psalms. Everybody turn to Psalms chapter 51. Chapter 51, verse 5.
Read it.
Go ahead.
Surely I was sinful at birth, sinful from the time my mother conceived me.
Yes, surely I was sinful at birth, sinful from the time my mother conceived me. And the King James, it says, "Behold, I was shapen in iniquity, and in sin did my mother conceive me." This referring back to Adam and Eve being a slave to sin. That curse that came down whenever they ate that fruit. That there, right there, we were all uh, had the curse brought upon us, whether we like it or not, whether we want to accept it or not. That curse was brought upon us, and he realizes that where is that at, Father? Where is it at? Here, and flip back to Romans. I'm sorry, Romans chapter 7. Dazed off for a minute. Romans chapter 7, verse 8. It's saying that but sin, and this is out the King James, and I read it out the NIV as well. It said, "But sin, taking occasion by the commandments, wrought in me a manner of what was that concupiscence." Yeah, concupiscence. Without the law, without the law, sin is dead. And in New King James it says, I'll read it real quick. It says, "But sin, seizing the opportunity afforded by the commandment, produced in me every manner of coveting. For apart from sin, for apart from the law, sin is dead." That this is saying that apart from the law, that there can't be any sin, because you don't know what you're doing wrong. and this is and this is how this is the, and this is how we know that this law is spirit. The law that God sent down was not to show them what to do, but to show them who they need. Because if even for even more so for that who we need, that without this, without the law there, that we have all. Where is it at? Saying that but sin seizing the opportunity afforded by the commandment, that the blindness that was shown, it says, produced in me every kind of coveting. That there was no limit to what to what not there was no uh, there's no limit to what a person can do. That well here where it says, and I'll finish it. That it says, for apart from the law, sin is dead. That everyone has everything within them, every within themselves to do to be tempted to do any to be tempted to do. Help me with this, Father. Everything under the sun. That no one can say that I would never kill anyone. I would never steal anything. I would never look lustfully another person. I would never covet anything, because within ourselves it's we, like the Lord told us in the beginning, we're inherently corrupt because of the fall that was done through Adam and Eve. That there's nothing that we can say that we cannot do. But apart from God in our lives, sin is dead, because we can't look because we can't see what's wrong, because we're blinded to what's out there. And apart from the law, that's why he said. That's why Paul wrote down what he wrote down in verse 9. Once I was alive apart from the law, that he saw himself as the best person in the world. Everybody sees themselves as a good person, because they don't know any otherwise. And sin, and with apart from the law, there's nothing to let us know that a child does not know that they shouldn't uh, play with knives until they're told. A child doesn't know that they shouldn't. And this is how, my nephew Matthew, when he was, I think he was one, he almost fell out of a fifth-story window. He didn't know that he shouldn't have been standing by an open. He didn't know he shouldn't have pushed his chair by that open window, climbed on the chair, and leaning out of it. And if there was if the Lord wouldn't have had me walk in that room when he did, he would have fell out of that window, and he wouldn't be here right now. And but he does not know that. He knows that now, but he didn't. He's a little too big to fall out of a window now, but he didn't know that back then. And we don't, and just like we don't know the wrong we do unless it's shown to us. And once it's shown to us, then we know that, just like he said at the end of verse 9, then we know sin sprang to life and I died. This isn't saying that he died to the flesh. This is saying that he knows that he was dead, because he was apart from God. Paul knew that he was dead because he had no home in heaven. And that's what the law does. This law being spiritual, the spiritual part, the law shining that light on how dirty our place really is. And this in this part of saying, it says, but I am well, it says in the King James, I'm carnal, sold under sin, but saying, but I am unspiritual, sold as a slave to sin. Forced labor. You having no choice but to do uh, the will, that Satan has for you to do. And predominance, the predominance that sin has over you, not being able to fight against it because of your the flesh, the corruption of the flesh that it has. And once you feel that, once you know that, that's whenever it starts weighing down on you. That's why here in Matthew, Christ said, come unto me, those that are labor and heavy laden, I will give you rest. Where's that? In Matthew chapter 11 verse 28. It's saying that let me turn to it to make sure I got it said it right. What did I say? Chapter 11 verse 28. Yeah, it says, and this out the King James. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. And it says here in the NIV, come to me. Go ahead and read it.
Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest.
And that's what the knowledge of who you are and the sin that's upon you. That's what it does. That he said here. Paul said it when we went over verse 9 that he was alive apart from sin. He thought himself good. He thought he was a nice guy. But when sin came in, he died. Whenever you realize that you have that on you, that sin starts being a burden on you. That sin starts weighing you down. It starts killing you. And that's why we're here. Christ says, come unto me, those that are labor and heavy laden. Give him the burdens. Give him, let him take the sin away from you. Let him lift it up off of you. Let him give you that walk apart from death. He will give you that life. That's why he's saying, come to me and I will give you rest. Because he lifts up off of that all of the burden of the sin that you realize is upon you, how dirty your house really is. And that's why he said that I'm back at Romans. Paul is saying that he was a slave. Where is it at? Oh, verse 14. Unspiritual, sold under sin. He didn't understand it. Just like with the Corinthians, when he wrote to the Corinth, he says your car. Let me see if I can find that real quick. Let me see if I can find that. I know it's around here somewhere. He called Corinth. He called the Corinthians carnal because of how they were living, how they were. Let's see. How they were going about doing, conducting themselves under God. Let's see. I can't find it now. No, I can't find it now. But when you're carnal, you don't see that. When it becomes that heaviness on you, it becomes that